Pilate's conscience.
It was very early on the first Good Friday, probably about 7 a.m., when, up the marble steps of Governor Pontius Pilate's luxurious palace, came a pale young man about 33. He has just been mocked, defamed, spit upon, and now manacled and condemned, he stands before Governor Pontius Pilate. Pilate's wife whispers in her husband's ear, telling him to be careful what he does with this righteous man. She is very troubled, owing to a dream about the innocence of the prisoner. After cross-examining Jesus, he is convinced of his innocence. He decides to release him. But there is a tumultuous uproar. "Crucify him," shout the religious leaders. "Crucify him," shout the howling mob. "Let this man go, and you are not Caesar's friend," they howl, until at last, vacillating, spineless, and unscrupulous Pontius Pilate delivers Jesus of Nazareth to be crucified. But before handing him over to hell's diabolical fiends, he calls for a basin of water, dips his hands in the water, lifts them dripping with water for the slave to wipe them dry, and shouts, "See, I wash my hands clean of this transaction," or in other words, "I am innocent of the blood of this just person." See Matthew 27, verse 24. This hand-washing ceremony was a religious ceremony, and particular directions were given in the Jewish Mishnah as to how it should be done. Listen, friend, I'm here to tell you that no religious ceremony can deal with the sins you have committed. No religious ordinance, no religious sacrament, no religious ablution can make your sinful heart clean. But they will never bring peace to your troubled conscience. Cardinal Beaufort, who was responsible for the murder of the Duke of Gloucester, often in the night was heard to cry out, "Away, away, why do you look at me?" What was wrong with him? Ah, friend, it was the lashing of that voice which will never be silent for all eternity if you find yourself in a Christ-rejecter's hell. It was the merciless voice of conscience. Pilate's conscience was after him. What had Pilate done? He was guilty of the crime which you are committing. He had rejected Jesus of Nazareth. Richard III, who had slain 2 nephews, would sometimes in the middle of the night jump out of bed, shout, clutch his sword, and begin to fight apparitions. Ah, conscience, thou divine sentinel, nothing can silence thy voice, and thy glittering sword smites unmercifully. Listen, friend, what have you done with Jesus of Nazareth? Treated him as a huge joke, or perhaps just ignored him, or maybe you have just neglected the claims of Jesus of Nazareth and the eternal destiny of your soul. Oh, how dreadful will be the scourgings of your guilty conscience when you find you are eternally doomed. Don't be fooled, friend. Neither disease nor death will annihilate your conscience. And if you went through all the religious ceremonies of every church in the world, it would not cleanse your guilty conscience of the damnable sin you are committing by ignoring, neglecting, or rejecting Jesus of Nazareth as your Savior. When Judas Iscariot flung the 30 pieces of silver at those who had hired him to commit his foul and treacherous deed, he did not fling his conscience away, neither did he silence that divine sentinel, for he found Lord Byron's words about conscience were true. Here they are. Nor ear can hear, nor tongue can tell the tortures of that inward hell. Judas was pitilessly scourged by his conscience until he hung himself, committed suicide, did not murder his conscience, and friend, thy conscience will go with thee into a lost eternity, and there, undoped by nicotine, alcohol, drugs, and the hustle and bustle of life, will lash thee without mercy for 1,000,000 decades. Pontius Pilate was compelled to do something with Jesus, and his eternal doom was sealed by his rejection of the Savior of the world. And you must do something with Jesus right now, this very moment.